Okay, so we are live. Yay! Almost Christmas. Looking very festive there, Paul. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. I thought, what better way to roll out the year than with one of my highlights? And the highlight was with you. So let's do a little.
Thank you.
Well,
Wow.
it really was. It was quite a fun one. And also when you came to Ibiza, it was a very good highlight.
Oh God,
So poorly highlight, but we're going to talk about a really awkward but funny one, which I think for the reality check today is a good place to start. I want to be as honest and as raw as possible when I do these shows, and you kindly joining me in your honest and raw and vulnerable self as ever, I think is a good way for us to have a laugh at the year just gone and to bring next.
And it's like a weird full circle moment as well, because I think the thing we're going to talk about happened pretty much exactly a year ago. And it just shows you how much changes, you know,
Indeed.
if you want it to, and if you're open to it, and if you've got the right people around you, which we'll talk all about.
Exactly. So we're not going to be on too long today because we know everyone at home is probably thinking about Christmas shopping and other things, but this is going to be on YouTube for life. So it will maintain and get viewers in the future. So today is currently, what date are we on today? We're on the
21st.
21st. It's the winter solstice. How could I forget? So it's the winter solstice. And today I am joined with Paul here, who is actually an incredible friend. He is a great guy and someone that we did meet a year ago in slightly different terms. We actually met from an event. I met you, I think it was at an investment pitch event, and I had my nails all long and red. And you said, "Oh, my mom wear that color." And anybody that notices my nails will get my attention, as you know. So here we are, nail paint next. And we've got Martin as well, who's just joined. Hello, Martin.
Hey,
nice
Martin.
to see you.
Jeez, it's good to speak to you. Well, good to be out there, man. It's brilliant. Wow. This is a real...
See, exactly.
Fantastic.
So we are basically talking about something that happened between me and Paul. And it's a sore subject for some people regarding mental health and kind of, let's call them what people know as disorders. But actually, I want to go a little bit further back. First and foremost, can you tell us, Paul, what you were diagnosed with before we go into the story, just to let people know the situation?
God, right. So most recently and most accurately, I found out that I'm on the autistic spectrum. But before that, for a period of about 10 to 15 years, I was experiencing depression, and potentially diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and all kinds of stuff. But it was just manifestations of my autistic nature and my preferences. And I was experiencing the difficulty that comes from being in an environment that doesn't fit with who you are. And I don't mean that in a kind of very sort of esoteric way. I mean, like, just being in an environment of uncertainty or noise or any various, people call them triggers, but just stuff that really wears you down and exhausts you until the point where you can't function anymore. And because you don't know what on earth is going on, you assume you're broken and you ruminate and worry and do things that are not consistent with your character because you're triggered or you're in a state of permanent arousal or anxiety. And then you start getting ruminatory thoughts and recrimination. You start getting self-loathing. And anybody who's really, really clever, I'm not putting myself in my bracket, I'm clever enough.
I think you're very clever.
Do a fantastic job of beating the hell out of oneself, because nobody's better at finding your flaws than you are. And I just kept searching for an answer, and I kept on peeling back the onion. And I refused to accept that I'd found what we call the truth of it.
Yeah.
And what we're going to talk about today, in part, is the trigger that made me go, something is very rotten in Denmark.
We're laughing.
I got to look over, I got to turn over a few more stones and find out what on earth is going on. And I did, as a result of that, as a direct result of one of the worst experiences that I've had professionally,
which I was part of.
Yeah, most personally humiliating and disastrous.
I love you.
One turned my life around.
Exactly. Well, let's tell them a little bit about the background. So I met Paul, as I said, at an investor pitch event because he fancied my nails and made a very nice comment about it.
I was there in a professional capacity, right?
Very much so. So we ended up
being a numbers nerd and also being very into intellectual property.
Indeed, and I was trying to raise investment, and we went for dinner, didn't we? Afterwards, no, it wasn't dinner.
Yeah,
we
had
that was it. We had a drink afterwards.
And chatted, la, la, la. Yeah,
and we instantly found that there was a great energy, and we thought, yeah, this is great. That somehow we can work together in some way. I admired Paul's knowledge around trademarks and patenting and all this kind of stuff that I wasn't really au fait with, and he admired I think it's fair to say, like the kind of tenacity for the entrepreneurial journey that I had.
I love the idea as well. It was very spiritually centered and virtuous.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wouldn't have quite put it like that, but now you do. I'll take that. Maybe that should be my LinkedIn title. But we found a kind of familiar area where we thought we could possibly work together. So I thought the best thing to do would be to get Paul on a call with, at the time, my head of operations, who I had on last week, which is Paul Smith, who will probably be watching at some point.
Just lovely.
And then also, one of my current shareholders called Gideon, who is not here to defend himself, but he will still laugh at this. We call Gideon the old dinosaur. He's very pragmatic and very straightforward, and been around for a very long time. I highly respect him and love him dearly. And he jumped on a call with expecting to meet someone who potentially could be our CFO for the company. That's what we were kind of thinking. Paul's got a good background in that area, understanding the strategy and business. So we thought, let's put us all together and have a chat. And then I'll let you say where it went, Paul.
Well, firstly, it was like I really wanted to help Nat, because or by help I mean contribute the skills that I had to the endeavor that she had. So get in the boat and start rowing, right? Nat is a very able person who doesn't need help per se. It's just in order to create a team, you want to create a blend. And there was some bits and bobs there I thought I might be able to help out with, because the blend and the experiences I had might be helpful. So get on the call. And it's the worst interview of my entire life, basically. It turns into a complete car wreck. And Nat, I think it's a joy about Nat, in as much as she's turned this complete mess into something of huge value, and I have too. Okay. So what happened was I get on the call and I'm chatting away with Paul Smith, lovely chat, and we're kind of, you're and me, I'm taught, right? Establish rapport, start talking with people. And now I look back at it, it's kind of contrived, because that's what you're told to do, right? And so build rapport, la la la, la la la. And I'm going, I know there's somebody else going to turn up. And because I've discovered I'm quite rules-based and structured and polite. If somebody turns up late to a call, I find it awkward and that's it's like,
it was definitely awkward.
It's like, dude, you just turned up late to a call, and we're like, and who are you? I don't know. And then Nat says we're talking about Paul being the new chief finance officer, which is a really financy role. And then I'm going, oh my God, that's not what you do. You don't introduce it like that, because it's very, very high risk. I'm just here to help. I'm not putting myself forward to anything. And I know Gideon is a finance guy. And so I go, oh, wow, already this is in dangerous territory. And big learning, mind the gap, all right? Mind the gap. You hear it on the tube all the time. You don't know what the other guy or other girl or other lady, whatever, is on the other side of the phone, what they have just experienced, right?
Very true.
So they're coming to this experience, and you're thinking they're coming with exactly the same expectations and preconceptions you've got. They're coming for a convivial chat, la, 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 la. No, Gideon had just come from an absolute shitstorm talking to something, which is why he was late. He was stressed out to the eyeballs.
Dealing with the crisis
What?
in huge refugee
Yeah.
crisis they were dealing with. So really pissed off and not really happy.
No idea about. I have no idea about it. Nobody else has any concept of this. And so, it's technically speaking, he should have unloaded or said that give it, but people don't, all right? So just forgive him for it. And then he's clearly short of time, or he's clearly whatever, but he is sort of out for in the room, and I feel a degree of threat. I feel that he feels threatened by me in some way. I don't know. Maybe that's my concoction as well. Mind the gap. And so I'm just backpedaling as furiously as I can, right? And I'm trying to build rapport with the guy and say, this is me, this is what I want. What about you? What do you want? Who are you? Tell me a bit about yourself. He's having none of it. I'm going, hang on. Rules-based, you're turning up late, and I'm reaching out to you like a good, emotionally engaged citizen, right? I'm making myself vulnerable and doing all the good stuff that I've read about. And I'm getting nowhere with you, buddy. This is really hard. And eventually he's going, well,
it was so hard to watch as well. It was really difficult in the call and go like.
And then looking back, it's like it was probably massively contrived on my part, because I'm trying to be emotionally intelligent, subsequently realizing that I'm an autistic guy, and what you're doing is doing the best job you can of creating a facade of authenticity when you're trying to do that. And this is what was happening at the time. Now I'm more at peace with it. I was like, let it just hang, right? But at the time, it's like, and then it says, well, what can you do for us? I'm going, what? Okay. I'm just on the call to have a chat. It's like, please.
It was like you were on Dragon's Den without a pitch and not knowing.
It's really scary, that. It's like, thought we were just being friends here. And eventually I just had all these triggers going off for me. And also what I found subsequently is I don't work very well with antagonism in claustrophobic situations. Now, when you're on a phone, on a call, it's a claustrophobic situation because you're tied in.
And you're on Zoom with 4 heads.
Right? And also, if you're on Zoom, and this is the whole thing about bloody COVID, you can't read body language. You can't read people's expression. And so you're just trying to do the best job you can. And there are gaps all over the show, right? And eventually I didn't blow up on the call. It was just, I've said, look, I've had enough. I'm not doing with this. I do not want to have anything to do with this environment. This is not for me. And so you could argue, or you could say that was a really positive choice. It was expressed in a very bad way.
Yeah, there was a part before that where I had to interject.
You were endeavoring to do a fantastic job of pouring oil on a whirlpool. Really.
I was trying, obviously being the founder, thinking, right, I'm doing what I'm meant to do here. Yeah. I'm bringing on someone that I've engaged with, that I really like the energy of, that I think I could get on very well with. He's very strategic. He understands what he's doing. Slightly what I assumed was on the spectrum. I didn't realize in what way that would go
at that time. So you're doing better than me.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, this could be fun. Gideon is an incredible man, but also very limited on time. He's one of my biggest investors and has, a very particular way, but he's a very, astute Jewish businessman. So he's dealt with a lot. He's done his hard-nosed kind of his stuff over his life, and he doesn't really have time for much. And obviously coming off a call with, drowning refugees all over the world, and he's got a team who are supporting that crisis, and the government have just changed the rules and there's money going missing, and he's just like, right, I've got to get on a call with Nat. Okay, cool. And this is another money call, and he's dealing with this refugee crisis. And then he comes on the call, and then I've also got Paul, who is the head of operations, who's not fully in yet, but coming on board to kind of connect. So I'm trying to manage 3 business guys who are all from a very strong corporate background. And I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to host and see how this goes, and let's see how it. And I remember Gideon being like, well, what do you want to do? Very, very calm, like, what are you going to do for us? And you being like, I'm not really sure. And I thought, I need to kind of interject here. So I just said, look, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen at the moment. I'm chief cook, my business. I'm chief cook. This is my call. I invited you all. So we're going to simmer this down. And I'm going to tell you now, I am the only cook in the kitchen, and I am supported. I'm very supported and I love it. But we need to change the energy of this because it's a bit. And Gideon, you're obviously clearly not happy today. Paul slightly concerned, and the other Paul not a fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah, what have you just you've just put me in a bag with two cats
Yeah.
fighting. It's just
Well, I
it's a
was
really
just
cute
like,
guy.
I have to rescue this. And I was like, I think we should just agree to maybe speak another time, Paul. And you were like,
Yeah,
yeah, I've got other stuff to do. And I was just like, okay, cool. So we let you go and you graciously said goodbye. And then afterwards, Gideon was like, well, what on earth was that? And I'm like, that was a call. I don't know what that was, but that was a call. I tried to connect you. It was like, and you want to work with this man? I was just like, kind of. Yeah, I do. And he's just like, okay, let me know how it goes. And just then goes to leave the call. And I'm like, oh, because he's obviously totally not engaged now and just has no time and thinking completely other things. And since then, he's now understood and he's like, right, there's a different position, not the CFO. Now there's strategy, business, that kind of stuff. So there's a whole warmer approach and a bit more of like a everything's in order. But at the time, it was a mess. And it was me as a founder thinking, oh my God, did I just read the room so wrong? Like, how bad could this get? Paul Smith found this hilarious, I might add.
And it's so lovely to have met the guy over the summer as well. He's just
exactly. And since then, since we've had our catastrophe, you obviously then realized that something was slightly untoward, and you were like, "So I need to sort this." So kind of after the aftermath, because I know you sent me a lot of text messages, and you were like apologetic, but then also justifying, and then also I think you were having a story in your head, and you were texting, and it was just I think you were discovering a lot, and then I spoke to you after. So do you want to go into that?
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So yeah, I thought this is not. I've just screwed up the loveliest opportunity the thing that I really wanted to do, right? And I really wanted to help, and not for any financial gain or anything, but I saw real worth and virtue in what Nat's doing. I still do, and I thought I really wanted to contribute, and I thought. I'll just chat and step back in it here. This is just really rubbish what I've just done. I feel like I've let down that. And so all this self-recrimination and self-loathing comes out because you go, oh, I fucked it up again. And I'm sure we can talk with a full florid Anglo-Saxon vocabulary on this course. I won't dwell on language, on blue language too much, but yeah, it was just.
Yeah, we'll beep it out on you.
I felt really bad, and I thought I'd let myself down. It's like that old the guy, the child who goes to school with a pin. You've let yourself down. You've let the school down. You've let Nat down. It's like, oh God, and I felt awful. And I went, what happened? I felt in retrospect I overreacted, or I was oversensitized. So I'd gone through 2 years of COVID, turning around businesses, and I was completely exhausted. So the other point is, right, mind the gap, but also take care of yourself. You've got to take care of yourself, because if you don't have enough resources to cope with the unexpected, you're going to get the squall will turn over the boat. You'll be overcome, right? And so what happened there was I didn't have the resources to manage the situation I found myself in. And so you come out fight, flight, freeze, flop, right? Fight, flight, freeze, or flop, right? And I'm not a flopper, right? It's like,
I feel like I've just flopped like the whole of 2022. But
and so it's flop is just when you play possum, play dead, because there's no other thing to do. And I discovered through this, there's fix, there's the fifth F, right? And I was coming out fighting, and always have, and I hate that kind of alpha bully, and you start perceiving these things when they're not even there. Okay, your mind the gap, your frame of reference is not accurate. And I started going, there's something wrong here. I need to explore it further. Okay, and that was the trigger. Okay, so I'd already been to the Priory and done a load of stuff with checked myself in too, because I'd had a number of episodes in my life where I just worn myself to the quick and had no resources, at which point I just fall over, or I do stuff where I overreact, or I present so I've got Hulk behind me here, right? And that's my alter ego, right? And he hasn't come out in a very long time, because if you follow the Marvel movies, the Hulk and Bruce Banner in the movies are intersected. They're one entity now. They're not two separate things. It's me now. I'm entirely comfortable with who I am. So how do we get there? How do we get there? So my daughters have always said, 18 and 22, Dad, you should go on the Undateables, or you're just like the guy on the Undateables. You're basically you're autistic in some kind of jokey way.
Tell you that you should go on the Undateable.
Yeah, you're like that guy on the Undateables or whatever. The stuff you come out with, it's just like you've got an open stream. There's no filter. Where's your filter, right? Oh God. And
sorry, I can't stop laughing at your daughters.
This is brilliant that we're bringing this because it's awkwardness should be, when you look back at it, it should be fun, right? And if you're not learning from it, you're not making any benefit out of it, right?
If you can't Spanish humor in it, you still haven't healed. That's what I say.
And if this is an entertaining conversation, hopefully more people will watch it, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And what it says is about, in the darkest stuff, there's light. There's levity and lightness. There's illumination and levity, right? So if you can recognize that shit's gone sideways, and you hear people when they say this, and the internet's a fantastic resource, you can start looking up. Sure, you could diagnose yourself with anything under the sun now, right? So try not to do that. Be cautious, okay? But there are things out there that give you tools to start identifying. And my great friend Johnny Pavlik, who I think I've introduced you to, he says there is no D, right? There is no disorder. And you alluded to this before, right? People call it disorder, okay? There is no D, right? There is just, if there is a D, it's just difference, okay? I'm not ASD, I'm on the aspect autistic spectrum. Okay, there is no PTSD, right? There is post-traumatic stress. You experience post-traumatic stress until you no longer experience it. Trauma is something that you have to work through and engage with. It's a neurophysical response that's trying to keep you safe. It's not a disorder. And by making it a disorder, you're saying I'm broken, when no, you're not. You're having a perfectly evolutionary response to bad shit that's happened. I'm autistic and I'm brilliant at finance, at problem solving. I jokingly say I'm autistic, hyperactive, and dyslexic, which means you can give me any problem and I'll solve it double quick, and I'll solve it in a way that nobody else has imagined.
It's very true. I have a testament to that.
Because that's my gift. And these gifts are blessings in disguise. And if you see them as disorders, you are a victim of your diagnosis.
Very true.
And you are, what do they call it? You take on the persona of victimhood.
Yeah, you become it. And the identity, you evaluate yourself with that identity, which is a loop you can't get out of because you don't think you're strong enough. Yeah.
And once you drop the D and just celebrate D for diversity, for difference, you start reframing yourself and giving yourself worth. Okay. I can do things that many other people can't because of my difference. I recently spoke, my daughter's dyslexic, and she's going out with a guy who's dyscalculic.
What does that mean? Dyscalculic?
That means it's the same as word, dyslexis for words, dyscalculics for numbers. Okay.
Oh.
All of these things are sources of adversity that you have to overcome, or you can choose not to and flop. It's a choice, right? It's if you can cope with it, if you can cope with taking on the adversity, fine. I'm not making any judgments about it. But if you do try and take things on in a small way, you learn. When you learn in the most challenging situations, like this call that we just had, that Nat and I were talking about, that happened a year ago, the most challenging, unpleasant, professionally traumatic experience of my career, an adversity that I learned from and grew from and developed. All development, I believe, happens in the areas of greatest discomfort. Now, I'm not saying put your hand in a fire, right? But what I am saying is, if it's uncomfortable, that's okay. Bring in people to help if it's too uncomfortable, but recognize also in discomfort there is growth and learning. And I know that sounds really hippity dippity shit, right? But it's practical, it's real. In your worst days, in the darkest days, you are developing skills and experiences and capacities that you hadn't had before. You're developing resiliences that other people, mortals, normal folk who don't go to the edge will never understand. And that gives to people who do choose to embrace difficulty.
Yeah.
It gives you strength and fortitude and superpower that other people who haven't gone there don't have.
Very true. I highly agree. And you know what, you carry yourself very well with humor about this subject, and this is why I think it was important for me to have you on. I thought,
cool.
let's just talk about it, and let's just be, open and honest. And there's been, I think this is why my brand is around, the Talkwoods. The awkward talks about things that matter, and this is, where is your head at? Sometimes it's up your ass if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And that's sometimes it's above the crowd, and sometimes it's in your hands, and sometimes you're just like, God. But there's a time, like there's a part, with me when I coach people, one of my biggest things is like, you can tell me anything as bad as it gets, and I'll still be sat here at the end of it. And people can jump and release and go, oh my God, this happened and this happened. And as long as we can get to the bottom of the shame, as long as we can get to the bottom of that part, and we shed light to it, it can be resolved. If we hide the shame from a certain audience, we still have it. If we hide the shame from family, we still have it. So you never really release the shame unless you're willing to say what you need to say in front of anyone that walks your way. And that with you, with the idea of reality checks, doing this every Wednesday, you owning it and being comfortable to discuss it is the light. People need to see your light in your area of awkwardness and shame to inspire their light as well. So like, I love the fact that you're open to coming and talking about this, because it just, it changes the game for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's why I was so keen to help out from the word dot, which is, I was just thinking about this. I know the time's short, and what's important is to pass on not just a story, but something that might help people. And that what you just said is really, really important, really helpful. Firstly, I'd say, don't let people brand you anything. Don't accept any labels that people put on you. Oh, that person, he's not emotionally intelligent, right? I think emotional intelligence was invented by the cool kids to have a go at the nerds and the clever ones. And it sort of perpetuates. Yeah, really clever, but not emotionally intelligent. That's just a label, okay? What matters is how you deal with that and how you authentically be yourself in that environment. And if people find you difficult to deal with, find different people, right? Be authentically you. And my life changed when I left corporate environment, because I wasn't a political animal. I am open. I am indiscreet. I am relentlessly truthful and purposeful, and won't tolerate people who are bending the rules for their own advantage. I loathe it, and I reek loathing it. And so I'm not a corporate person. So bottom line, first point is, don't change you. Change where you are if you can. And if you can't, find an environment outside work that enables you to be you. Find your tribe, and that will then reinforce who you are and bring you back to who you are, and be centered in that. And remind yourself what it is like to feel good without any artifice. Just you on your own, without anybody reinforcing and validating your ego, just you in your own bones, and then grow from that. So that's the first thing. Don't change you, change where you are, and try to find a place where you can be with your people. Because if you can be with your people and do what you do brilliantly, and they accept and welcome you, you are in heaven, okay? And also, if you can identify yourself and say, I'm this, I'm autistic, right? I'm dyslexic, autistic, and hyperactive. I can do things nobody else can. Own your shit, yeah? And just celebrate it, because there's nothing wrong with that. there's nothing wrong. I think where the depression starts and where the bad stuff starts is when you start negating yourself and distancing yourself from who you are and refusing to, and seeing who you are as a bad thing.
Exactly.
You're not something that needs to be fixed. You just need to find a place where you can be you.
Exactly.
That's what I finish on. You know, that's the biggest message of my life over the last year of growing and learning. I'm not broken. I have, stuff that I need help with and stuff that and I have people like Nat to talk to. And you talk to people and they reinforce you and fortify you. Yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. But at least I'm me. And I'm really happy to be that person. And I'm really wanting to help other people try and find a level of peace that I'm finding. So, Matt, it's been a pleasure to share that story.
Thank you so much for joining today, and we love you dearly. So with all of my team members from I Am Sound who are currently on hiatus, they're literally currently working for other people because I can't afford to pay them.
Yeah, lovely team, amazing team. I love them all.
They're amazing, and they all loved you so much when you came out to Ibiza and you came to stay. And you know, it's been such an amazing year, like for my own ups and downs in many ways. And I've seen incredible things. I've spent times with incredible people, but I've also been incredibly low at times because nothing is always, consistent.
No, leadership's terribly lonely. Yeah,
it's been so hard, but I have finally come to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to get back to doing my coaching for now. I'm going to park the business to the side until March, and I'm just going to do me really well in my environment and get back to helping other people with all their awkwardness and their shame, hence having this conversation as well and putting it out here. And I think bringing in the awkwardness on every Wednesday in a fun, beautiful way with my friends is a good way for me to sit in my fun shame or to help others with theirs. So I'm very happy that you joined me today. Thank you so much. And for anybody else that's watching, I know, Martin, you've been watching the whole way and you're making loads of comments, and Paul, he loves you. So you need to read those if you haven't already.
Mine's a star. You should get him on too. He's got
I know. I'm gonna have him on one week. I think that needs to be a set, Martin, if you're up for it. But yeah, it's
great. So whatever. It's your show, man.
It's a great 30 minutes, and I thank you all for watching. And if anybody wants to find any more details about me, if you've never seen me before, I'm going to put my little sexy banner on here. I've got a little banner that goes on the top of the screen. Yeah, and if you want to see my faux pas, you can go to the front page of my website and see all the boo-boos. I've got my bloopers on there rather than another video. I put my bloopers up.
I love that.
So thank you, Paul, for your time, and for those who are watching. Paul, you stay there. Everybody else at home, have a great Christmas and an even better New Year. And I will be back in January with more reality checks. Bye for now.